We mobilized at Camp Douglas August 4th, 1917. We remained there until September 30th, when we moved to Waco, Texas, Camp MacArthur. There we went into training, the reorganization and organization of the 32nd Division. Up to that time, it had not been organized.
Carey was not alone in his efforts to augment the Guard's strength. Throughout the state, community leaders seeking to serve gathered the like-minded. In Wapaka, Clifford Andrews gathered 149 men and formed Company C, 4th Wisconsin Infantry Regiment. This same story played out in dozens of Wisconsin communities. Many felt they had a choice: go to war with your friends or get drafted with people you don't know. The Guard received tremendous support from both the public and the state government.
The state itself, the governor had to initiate moves to fund the clothing and the supply of its own National Guard members so that they would be ready to go.
In all, Wisconsin sent more than 15,000 National Guardsmen to join the American Expeditionary Force. Another 10,000 soldiers volunteered. In Milwaukee, the parishioners of the Evangelical Lutheran Church of the Ascension gave their pastor leave to join the war effort. He had just returned from service as chaplain for the 127th Infantry along the Mexican border. 20-year-old Arthur Curlin, a tire builder from Cudahy, volunteered, entering service with Battery B, 120th Field Artillery, leaving his parents and intended bride for the battlefields of France. Captain Paul Schmidt, commander of Company C, 2nd Wisconsin Infantry, mustered his men for a second time. They had just returned from Texas. Wisconsin's National Guard and new Guard units gathered together at local armories, horse parks, and fairgrounds for training, and then moved on to Camp Douglas.
The thing that stands out most in my mind about Camp Douglas was we were all in tents, each company of the regiment. I was in Company F, and laying in our tents at night, they used to blow taps. And what I remember most is laying in my tent and listening to the bugle calls of the 121st Field Artillery, which was about 3/4 of a mile across the field from us, hearing that bugler blow taps. Beautiful call. Go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep, that bugle call would call. And then the 107th Engineer bugler would blow. Then the 119th Field Artillery bugler would blow his taps. One tried to outdo the others. Then I'd start and come to the infantry, and our regimental bugler would blow, and the next regimental bugler would blow, and so forth. So it was the most beautiful thing I ever heard in my life. It stands out clearly in my memory.
During the Guard's weeks at Camp Douglas on July 18, 1917, the Army issued General Order 95, creating the 32nd Division with troops from Michigan and Wisconsin, and ordered them to train at Camp MacArthur in Waco, Texas. The division was divided into 2 infantry brigades, consisting of 2 regiments each. The 63rd Brigade, with the 125th and 126th Regiments, was made from Michigan men, while the 64th Brigade, with the 127th and 128th Regiments, was made from those from Wisconsin. With the 57th Field Artillery Brigade and support troops, it was a substantial force. When the order was given forming the 32nd, Camp MacArthur was nothing more than 10,000 acres of farmland and cotton fields. The new camp, named in honor of Wisconsin Civil War hero Arthur MacArthur, father of General Douglas MacArthur, cost $5 million to build. The soldiers converged on the new camp in early September.
Every day of the week was the same, Sundays and all, from 5:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m.
The training was tough and regimented, designed on long-held principles of warfare and required strict compliance.
The general principles governing combat remain unchanged in their essence. This war has developed special features which involve special phases of training, but the fundamental ideas enunciated in our drill regulations, small arms firing manual, field service regulations, and other service manuals remain the guide for both officers and soldiers, and constitute the standard by which their efficiency is to be measured.
Day in and day out, we were kept busy learning how to be soldiers. Up at 0530, we had 15 minutes for exercise, 5 minutes to make our bed, which meant rolling up our one and only blanket. And then we washed up and were in line for morning mess by 0600. They got us into shape with the everlasting drills and the grueling marches. There was artillery, bayonet, and grenade practice. They must have been in a hurry to get us polished up, because what had previously taken 2 years of training was squeezed into 16 weeks for us.
And Pershing, above all, emphasized the importance of rifle marksmanship and aggression in indoctrination sorts of training regiments that American soldiers went through.
The rifle and the bayonet are the principal weapons of the infantry soldier. He will be trained to a high degree of skill as a marksman both on the target range and in field firing. An aggressive spirit must be developed until the soldier feels himself, as a bayonet fighter, invincible in battle.
The conviction there was that this was going to cure what it was that ailed the French and British armies, that through an aggressive offensive spirit and skill with the bayonet and the rifle, they would be able to break through the gridlock of trench warfare and get into the open country where those marksmanship skills would come in even more handy.
The training called for sound leadership from the smallest tactical element, the squad level, and extended it upward throughout the ranks.
To this end, commanders will be required to lead their respective units in person in the most energetic manner.
The training required that each exercise be followed by a critique on the ground on which the exercise took place, and following a set process of evaluation, complete with a review of umpires observing the fight.
The senior umpire will then conduct his critique, pointing out only important errors and the lessons to be learned therefrom.
Along with the tactical lessons, there were also lessons on first aid, prevention of trench foot and venereal diseases, and the disposal of the dead. And there were amusements built into the schedule, in the form of competition. The training was not without its casualties, nor was it without the realities of early 20th century medicine. Chaplain Stearns tells of the letter home he transcribed for a soldier from Beloit, Wisconsin.
I was operated on 3 days ago for appendicitis. I am feeling quite comfortable, and the doctors and nurses are doing everything they can for me, so you must not worry about the medical attention I am receiving.
I then conducted my devotions. I then said, "Well, my boy, I am glad to hear you were a Christian boy. If you should happen to feel any worse, be sure and tell them to call me at once, whether it is during the day or night." The boy passed away the next morning at 2 o'clock.
Soon came the time when we got an extra good examination by the medics. They began separating the toughest and most fit from the others. No one, of course, was ever informed as to the reason for certain actions, but after a little experience, one could make a pretty good guess.
From November on, the division received regular visits from the War Department to evaluate their readiness. By early January, the 22,000 soldiers of the 32nd Division, the National Guard of Michigan and Wisconsin, were ready to move. Their final stop before boarding ships for France, Camp MacArthur, New Jersey. And on February 7, 1918, Major General William G. Hahn, a regular Army officer and West Point graduate, assumed command.